All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle one of Friedrich Nietzsche's most, well, let's just say, most uncomfortable ideas. It comes from his book, The Gay Science, specifically from a short section called Unconditional Duties. And trust me, it's an idea that really challenges what most of us think of as moral strength.
I mean, think about it for a second. Life is complicated, right? It's full of gray areas and tough choices. Haven't you ever just wished someone would hand you a simple rule book? A clear, thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do that to make everything easier? The common wisdom is that following these strict moral duties, these absolute non-negotiable commands, is what makes a person strong. It's about having conviction, integrity, discipline. It's what we're pretty much all taught to admire in people. But this is where Nietzsche just loves to throw a wrench in everything. He wants us to consider something totally different. What if that craving for absolute rules isn't strength at all? What if it's actually just a cover for a profound weakness, a way to hide from something that truly terrifies us? And here we are at the very heart of his argument. Nietzsche looks at this intense need for certainty, for unconditional rules, and he doesn't see a virtue. No, he sees it as a psychological symptom, a reaction to a really deep-seated fear. So what's the big scary thing we're so afraid of? According to Nietzsche, it's the fear of being responsible for ourselves. When we demand a thou shalt, what we're really saying is, please just tell me what to do because I'm terrified of having to figure it out for myself and live with the consequences. He actually has a name for this state: spiritual servitude. It's this deep psychological dependency where we need an outside force, a religion, an ideology, a master, to give our lives meaning and structure. Why? Because we feel we don't have the strength to build it from the inside out. It's a shield, plain and simple, against the terrifying, wide-open freedom of being an individual. So, why do we do it? Nietzsche breaks it down for us. It all starts with this feeling of not having the inner strength to set our own goals. That creates a kind of vacuum, right? And we look for a higher command to fill it. Obeying that command does two things. It takes away the heavy burden of making a choice, and, maybe most importantly, it gets us off the hook. We avoid that crushing anxiety of being personally accountable if things go wrong. Okay, so we see how this fear works on a personal level. But Nietzsche, being Nietzsche, he doesn't stop there. He zooms out and shows us how this individual weakness can actually become a massive social force that shapes entire cultures. He says this thou shalt is a key feature of what he famously called the herd mentality. Now, this isn't just about one person's fear anymore. It's a social tool. It's designed to make everyone the same, to make life predictable, and to basically simplify the messy, complex reality of being human so the masses can handle it. And this chart just lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the herd. Its morality is all about one-size-fits-all rules to make everything predictable and safe. Its main goal is to domesticate, to tame the strong, passionate individuals who don't fit in. Those are who Nietzsche calls the noble souls. The noble soul, on the other hand, lives by their own inner fire, their personal passion. They resist the collective rules and embrace the chaos and unpredictability of life. So how does this whole obedience thing actually work on our minds? Well, it's a pretty simple and kind of tempting process. First, someone gives you an absolute duty. Because it's unconditional, you don't have to ask why. That immediately lets you skip all the hard, messy work of thinking for yourself, and you get to avoid the terrifying risk of making a moral error. And the final results? A deep, comforting sense of relief. But wait, the rabbit hole goes even deeper. Nietzsche says it's not just about finding relief from anxiety. It's also about a very powerful illusion. It's a way for people to feel heroic without ever actually having to do anything risky or creative. Just think about it. If you believe you're serving some divine or eternal law, you can feel like you're a crucial part of some grand cosmic story. It gives your life a sense of dignity, of purpose. But here's the kicker. Nietzsche says it's a false dignity. It's borrowed. It's not your own. And Nietzsche just cuts right to the bone here. He calls this a psychological vanity. It's like a beautiful mask we put on to hide the fact that, well, maybe without these external commands, we feel a little empty inside. It's getting to feel like a hero without taking any of the risks of true creation. So, is there an antidote to all this self-deception? Yes. Nietzsche gives us a tool,
He calls it the intellectual conscience. This is that tough, critical part of your brain that just refuses to accept things at face value. It's that little voice inside that's always asking, but why? Where did this rule actually come from? And who really benefits from me following it? It is the absolute enemy of anything unconditional. Which brings us to Nietzsche's grand finale, his vision for what we could be if we were just brave enough to throw off these invisible chains. He calls it the path of the free spirit. It's the path that leads to what he calls a gay science, a joyful science of creating your own life. So it all really boils down to this final stark choice. On one side, you have the slavish instinct. It craves commands. It's terrified of making mistakes, and all it wants is relief from the burden of having to think. And on the other side, you have the free spirit. They don't follow duties. They create their own. They understand that values aren't set in stone, and they relentlessly demand a reason for every single thing they choose to believe. And this, right here, is Nietzsche's ultimate challenge to every one of us. He's arguing that real growth, real maturity, isn't about finding the right set of rules to follow. It's about developing the inner strength to live without the crutch of external rules altogether. It's about having the courage to embrace the scary, thrilling, and dangerous freedom of creating your own values from scratch. And that leaves us with a question that turns this entire analysis right back on you. So I want you to really think about this for a second. What are the unconditional duties that you've just accepted in your life without really questioning them? And maybe more importantly, if you found the courage, what new duties, what new values would you create for yourself?